here we are for another dinosaur movie review.
Back at it. Dinosaurs are in our blood. I will
This is
say
our
that.
wheelhouse. Here we are with 2021's Hatched.
Hatched. Familiar faces.
Familiar director.
names. Yes, yes.
And writer, yes. Our boy, with Scott Jeffries.
Scott Jeffries, yes.
He's bringing it. The man does so much, so prolific.
Me-
I'm blown away.
Megan Purvis back as a lead as well. I've watched a few Megan Purvis movies recently. Yeah, familiar with Scott Jeffries' work. Recently became very familiar with it.
Yes.
Like in the past 2 weeks or so, I've watched so many of his movies now.
The
And it's
man's
also-
cracking them out.
They've all come out in the past 2 weeks, which is even more crazy.
It's so impressive. This would be an impressive amount of movies to come out in a year, in a normal year, but this is like pandemic year. Like this is just like bam, got it. Like that's something.
Yes, and I will say that I don't think the movie that I'm most looking forward to of his has come out yet, and that is, of course, The Curse of the Humpty Dumpty. I think we can all agree on that. But we should mention.
Can't wait.
We should mention not just Scott Jeffrey movie, but this is also a Rebecca Matthews movie as well,
Yes, yes.
co-directed.
So I will say, like off the jump, like it looks fun. It looks good. The quality of the CG in the trailer, I'm like, okay, this looks like a thing I could definitely get behind and enjoy. It got us to watch the movie for sure. I do think that the description on the IMDb page is a little false here. We have something has been discovered, and this time a city under attack by a fast-growing T-Rex.
What is going on with these guys and their descriptions? This must be like what they sold the movie on or sold the idea on, and then changed after they started filming or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Same thing with bats, right?
Bats, I felt even more betrayed.
Yes.
This one, I'm like, well, there is a T-Rex. It is pretty much what you see on the cover there. So like, in the right direction, we've got it going here. So like this at times, the CG on this T-Rex and the Raptors looks amazing. Where I'm like, oh wow, this is like a notch above. And then like it slips, and I think that's because like this is like a hero shot where we put a little bit more effort or time into something, but like the quality is really really impressive at certain moments there where you're like almost like, okay, that looks almost too detailed. Like that could be a small practical effect or something is happening there, but it's definitely all CG. Like this is not necessarily one of the better
It's
moments there.
I think it's almost like the detail on the model is or the texture is really like high res or something, and if they would have blurred it out a little bit more, it actually might have made it fit into the shot even better. But it's not bad.
No. Like again, in
Most of the
some of
time
those
it is.
shots, I was like, "This is crazy impressive." Like the freeze frame on the IMDb page shows the raptor in like
it looks great.
Jurassic Park quality view. Is you're like, okay, this is a movie. They know what they're doing here. And maybe if they had a little bit more time, they could have rendered everything out to be in that fucking crisp quality. But I'm not gonna knock it for the CG. I think the CG on this one is pretty solid. They're, in general, they get the colors right and things look decent, which we didn't have necessarily in some other dinosaur movies we've watched recently.
Dinosaur Hotel and stuff. Yeah, no. I was actually coming off of Bats, which is pretty much the exact same team, I believe. And that's why I was talking to you before this. I wanted to look up who did the camera work, because I thought this was a notch above pretty much in every way from Bats for me.
Yeah, I would agree.
I thought, especially the camera work, I thought was really pretty good. Lots of, rack focus and stuff going on. Just a lot of competency in the framing of the shots and everything. This looked more like a real, legit movie to me.
I think a lot of that is lended to by the scenery. This one has a lot more impressive setting than we had in Bats, and I think that also just jogs you to be like, this is a real movie. Because if you frame this same shot on like a two-family Tudor house, it's not going to look nearly as impressive and cinematic as you do with this mansion, which I think is also a huge plus for the writing here, is that things lined up. I can believe that this person, can be making this dinosaur world, even though like they don't really display the workshop necessarily to be that of like, oh, I'm genetically splicing and I'm making dinosaurs, but you think, oh, this guy has money. He actually could be doing something. It's not like a dude in the suburbs in his basement is doing this and you're like, wait a minute, what?
No, yeah, you're right. Like they had the props and they went for it with that stuff. I still like even taking all the, like, because I think most of the stuff is good about this movie.
Hmm.
It's still the weakest parts are the script,
Yeah,
and not necessarily like the dialogue. I think the dialogue's pretty good, and the
it's the
premise
A to
is
B.
it's the A to B, and like the silly, stupid shit they do with, oh, all of a sudden the car just stops working, and how many
I wrote
times
a note and I said, "Oh no, the plot broke the car."
I hate that. It's so cheap. And how many times in this movie are we surprised? Oh, there's a big fucking T-Rex right there. Like, how did we not?
Yes.
It gets
There's a
old.
moment where there's two soldiers in the woods, and he's like, "What? What do you see? Where is
Yeah.
it?" It is like he is between its legs. It is right on top of him. There's no way, like, its breathing would be loud enough to hear, let alone how it got to where it went. They're in the woods. It should be knocking over every tree to get to him. This is not something that could sneak up on you. It is a massive T-Rex that apparently is
Yes.
going for the city.
And we complained about bats being so unbelievably dramatic and melodramatic,
Hmm.
and it being boring and uninteresting. Like, there is drama elements to this movie that aren't good either, but they're lessened for me. But honestly, with the look and I thought the acting and everything, like they could have pulled off a more serious movie. But then this movie has the almost worse, like schlockiest of premises. You know what I mean?
The bringing back of the dead son, is that what you're referring
Bringing
to?
back a dead son, bringing back dinosaurs randomly, and then just fighting CGI dinosaurs.
Well, it's the three-pack combo there, where those are like you could have different movies here, but we slammed it all together, and of course because
Yes.
dinosaurs in your trailer is something that's going to make people want to watch it. It got me. I'm
Sure.
here for the dinosaurs. I think the biggest like wrench in the whole plan for me was the young boy in this, Mark. I didn't know that that was a boy at first, and no offense to him, it's a small child with long hair, and they
Yeah,
don't
kids that
refer to him
age.
by name for a while. So when they finally said Mark, I was expecting there to be a twist because like they're DNA hacking and doing this thing that like but it came back as a girl. like when Mark died, like we got this and our chromosomes crossed or whatever,
I
and this
see what
happened.
you're saying.
Was what
Uh,
I was picturing happening because there wasn't like Mark
there,
sit here, Mark do this. Like I didn't have
there
that
was
thing.
definitely confusion there, and like whatever, kids that age are like androgynous. You know what I
It's
mean?
very
Like, you
true.
can't.
It's very true.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
it's not that. It was more for me. It was like we start the movie with this kid, and then we cut to our I guess the family, the leads, the young girls and their
Uh-huh.
parents, but they're talking about like visiting this person and they had some sort of loss. So I thought the kid was like a twin or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know he
I
was
thought a
supposed to be brought
miscarriage at
back.
first because they
Yeah.
showed you like a baby, like a sonogram thing or
Yeah.
something, or was it a baby? No, I might be mixing things in my head, but it was certainly a baby picture, and they said, "Oh, that's since the problem," and I'm like, "Well, who's the problem for?" Okay, what? All right, that kid. All right, that kid's alive, and you're like, okay, so the whole premise of this, like the dad was brilliant enough to get him alive to speed up the process. The memories seem to be there because that kid knew who they were, and I'm like,
Yeah.
is it a clone? Is this the exact child?
It is sloppy ass writing. And it's not even like I don't think it was meant to be. Maybe it was. Maybe it was meant to be like a surprise for the audience. Like, oh, Mark is actually this kid again or something, and he isn't the one that died. But I don't think so. I think we were supposed to know that and intuit that. And then when the two sisters find the kid, are surprised. We were supposed to understand why they were surprised, but I
The
was honestly
surprise
confused the
right
whole
there,
time.
I thought, and I was like, oh, this they didn't have this scene. Was at that point I didn't realize that that was the dead son reborn. You had
Yes.
just seen a bloody phone, and
Yes.
I was like, okay, so the kid must be covered in blood from when his dad just got murdered in front of him. But really, that didn't happen. There's no blood on him at all. But I'm like, oh, because they couldn't get blood in the car. It's a rental, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the shock and surprise on the kid's faces is this kid's covered in blood. But he's not. There's no blood on him at all. So I was like, where did the blood on the phone come from?
Yes. It's yeah, I mean, we keep saying sloppy writing, but it's just like nonsense. Like it's not even thought out at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like knowing how quickly they are knocking these movies out, I think that it's just there's not time to really go over these. There's not someone like, analyzing the script for issues maybe.
But
And that's all I could think of.
that's the unfortunate thing because I think this movie is quite a bit better than the other Scott Jeffries
Yes.
movies I've seen.
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
think the acting is good. I think the lighting and stuff is great. I think the movie has a really good look. What I think really sets this one apart is they had this colorist come in and everything is consistent
Mhm.
and nicely polished. The CGI is good, although this movie probably would have been better if they would have got rid of the dinosaurs and you just used the bat guy here, or maybe like you know what I mean, or clean it up a little bit and
Yeah,
add
like
some
a
CG.
practical effect in this, since you had the stronger
Right.
cinematography, might have been better.
Take the bat thing and use some of that CGI money to enhance it and run around this estate. I think it would have been a better movie.
It might have
It's
made sense too, with like, oh, he died of a disease. We were trying to cure this disease. Oh, the
yeah.
thing I did
And he
made a
turned into a bat.
monster or something like
Yeah,
that.
we use bat DNA, blah, now he's a Batman.
Because we just gloss over a lot of things in this movie, like, so like he breeds or raises or genetically whatever is these eggs, which I'm like, okay, it's very strange, because if you're thinking about taking an embryo, you would inject it into like a pre-existing egg. Maybe that's an emu egg and I'm just not familiar enough with it, but somehow he gets it from like the stage of it being like a laid
Yeah,
egg.
it's already an egg. Yeah,
And you're like,
a
oh,
dinosaur egg.
okay, I can wave past that. But where, like, why did he make two raptors? Why did he make a T-Rex? Like, it didn't seem like it was a thing. And where did he keep these things? We saw one of them has like a pirate-style leg shackle and is just like in a shed, like an open-air shed kind of in the middle of it. And you're like, oh, okay. And how did it get out? We don't have some scene where it, like the pin broke and we see it escape. It's just out, and that's how it starts. The wife seemingly should have known that was in there, but kind of just goes in there all, yeah.
But but if all this stuff was schlocky and funny and wasn't trying to be serious, I don't think you would question all these plot points. I think because the movie is generally
The
well
tone,
made
yes, it's
and
very
serious
serious.
enough that you do start to pull apart the plot points like this, right?
Where's the other raptor even kept? Where's the T-Rex kept? Why is his big lab just in a horse stall in an equestrian center? Like, these are the questions that people want to know. Did anything jump out at you as weird in his lab?
Like what?
I sent you two photos. Can you bring up picture one, please?
I can bring up picture one, sir.
So here's picture one, where you're like, okay, the camera is framed in such a way that we see this beautifully set dress thing. Only to a really, keen-eyed observer would you see that exhaust pipe in the back like stops just before the top of the frame, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then
Yeah.
in picture two, you can see that it's not going anywhere. So this drew my eye because it is an exhaust fan on the bottom. In one of the shots, you can see it's just open to nothing, and I'm like, there's not like a soldering iron or something. They're like, what is it sucking the air from?
Hit
And then when
up
it
right
pans
there.
out, I'm like, it's sucking it to nothing. And not only is it not hooked up to anything that would actually force air, but it's just there. It's just set dressing. And like, I think that's so funny. You have to know what's in the shot, and that's just something of like, it wasn't planned appropriately.
That's a
Humorous.
I mean, that's something low budget movies suffer from. Big
Yes.
budget movies would have somebody who is paying attention to all that all the time. You don't have the
Mhm.
luxury there, but props.
But
for
that would
giving
be
the
something
attempt.
really easy to just fix in post. Just extend the pipe,
Yes, yes.
and it's done.
I didn't even notice it.
Those are the
You-
stupid things I always notice.
You have the eye for it. You need to be on the. You need to be consultating on these kind of movies and be like, that fucking exhaust pipe doesn't go the whole way up.
I'm head consultator.
I I like the blocking of a lot of shots in this movie. It was, there's just a lot of competency here, and it's such like a night and day from bats for
Yeah.
me. And I don't know what changed here.
It still felt a little dry. Like,
Oh,
there,
yeah.
there wasn't that, like, I can see the tone that is trying to be set before me, and but it doesn't necessarily hit that. Our people don't have like a beautiful chemistry amongst themselves. I thought that this female doctor there was probably the most expressive person in the movie. I really, like when she's screaming and doing stuff, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, she's screaming. All right, do your thing there.
What?
But
Yeah,
hmm,
I agree. And what's so weird is like when they're writing these dramatic movies, for whatever reason, these guys seem dead set on making these serious horror movies, but on
Yeah.
schlocky premises. But the writing doesn't reflect like actual understanding of drama in a way where it's like, where are the character arcs? Like, what did we learn? Where's the journey at? It's just like things are happening to them and they're
Mhm.
serious and they cry and they get upset about things, but nobody's learning anything or nobody's changing. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
And what is the escalation here? So we do get a phone call out to authorities. You'll never believe what's happening, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
But they send out the military. They send like the world's smallest military unit. And these guys show up and they do have actual guns. They are actually like, military trained people. And they very quickly seem to just take over the situation in a very odd way, where they are not like from the government, we've been following this the whole time.
No.
It doesn't seem. It seems like they are brand new on the scene, and their first priority is not to help these people at all. And it's almost, I'm almost unclear as to what their intentions were and why they went about the way they did. Because they killed that first raptor like it was fucking nothing. It was like, boop, boop, got it. It's dead. And then everything else was like the biggest chore ever. And understandably, a T-Rex would be a task. Like, I'm not giving you shit about that. But that second raptor murdered like everybody with like, you know, no hesitation, and it wasn't even eating them. And that's another one I think with this is like, are dinosaurs just killing machines, or are they animals? Because presumably they're just animals, and if they kill you, it's to eat. And if they're not hungry, they're not killing you. Their eggs are out in the woods, so that's the patrol area they would be defending. Like, there's not reason to do these things. Always the kitchen scenes too. Whenever you have a dinosaur, like Jurassic Park made that a staple. You have to have a kitchen scene.
Yeah, I was waiting for the military men to reveal some sort of ulterior motives or some sort of secret plan that they knew this was happening and they were trying to capture the dinosaurs or something like that. Something a little bit more clever, even though that's not that clever, but there's
it would
literally
at least
nothing.
Be something. There's nothing.
Nothing.
And it just kind of fizzles from there as we slowly lose all of our military members. And then the movie kind of just ends.
Yeah, like I can do a movie where it's just we're thrown into this scenario and we're reacting and surviving. But that's not that is sort of the setup here, but it's not how this movie plays out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not like dwindling down. We are, but we're not like sticking together and trying to survive. It's just like these argumentative scenes between military people and other people, and then just kind of standing around until somebody looks up and there's a T-Rex about to eat them.
Yeah, and there's not higher arching orders that I can see, because he murders their father, just like straight up. Oh, you want the kids to escape? Whatever your mission might be, it's clearly not to defend this family. It seemingly now you've switched priorities to be dinosaur related, and why do you care what the family does? Let them leave. I don't understand why trying to defend his kids was such a big, you know, issue.
Yeah. I think if it was I think you could take that storyline, that B plot, and shift it in a way where it's like, because they are here for ulterior motives, you can't let these people leave, and they're more revealed to be the bad guys. But half the time it switches between this army guy being a bad guy and then supposed to be somebody that we empathize with and want to survive in some way. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
never cared about him at all. Wanted him dead the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I never cared about anyone in this movie either, which leads to none of the scenes being effective with their tension. And
nothing mattered. There's no, like, usually I root for like the funny character or like, oh, the badass, because I want to see what that person does, but there's not really a standout here in any of those departments. I do think they went for a tiny bit of humor, because there's somebody called Private Ryan.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, that's a joke, right? And then, but they don't. There's no one ever like ribs on it, like, oh, Private Ryan, or no one says we gotta go save Private Ryan. Like, there's nothing like that. So like, maybe it is not a joke at all, and it's just like, no, just that's his name. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
I don't even know if it was meant to be a joke, but I did hear that. I was like, wait, but I mean,
yeah, it gives you hope. You take pause, like, is that a joke?
Yeah, exactly. You can't like, there's no difference between the two sisters besides the fact that they're two different human beings playing the same character for the most part. You know what I mean?
I called them the Bush twins for no reason. Like, for some reason they remind me of the president's kids, or former president's kids.
They're like the same person. Then you have the kid who just coughs in. I mean,
he's got a tad bit of the consumption.
He's got a consumption, and he's not necessarily a bad actor. There's just not enough.
At that age, it's very hard to give you any problems at all.
Yeah.
Like, you're a kid, especially you're a kid in distress. So it's like, who's to say how that kid would act? He's also like a clone who has tuberculosis or something. So
there's not enough there anyways. There's no depth to anything. So
no.
And I thought the angry army guy did ham it up in a way. He kind of looked like a not Doctor Who. Who am I thinking of? Maybe, I don't know.
I could see him like a little doctor. He looks a mix of Matt Smith and David Tennant.
Yeah.
To pull in just Doctor Who.
David Tennant, who I was thinking of when I said that, I think. But I think he hams it up in a way that works when he is supposed to be the evil army guy. But again, not enough depth there to really do anything. No backstory.
Yeah. You would need like a cut to a military base and like, this is your actual mission, blah 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 blah. We've had reports and we do believe this and that, something something, da da da.
Yep.
Like you need a little bit more something there that we just didn't get. I do like that they killed like the crippled mother. Like you thought like, oh, they're gonna not do that, and then bam, they do that. That like subverted a little bit.
Every scene, we keep saying they look up and there's a dinosaur, but even before that, every scene is played out in a way where the tension is built by we're walking around slowly and you hear a dinosaur. And I get it because they're limited on their CGI budget, and then you have to reveal, and when you reveal, they kill them. But it gets old. It's super repetitive.
Yes, because it's so formulaic for this exact type of movie. And now that we've seen a couple recently, that is, it's becoming more and more apparent.
That might be on us, right?
It's possible, but you have to make like, these are still flaws. Just because they are more apparent to us because we see so many of them doesn't change the fact that they are flaws. Like, you could have done things a little bit differently here. The constant, yes, look up, I don't notice it as the victim, but everyone else noticed it. That's a trope that is being played out repeatedly here. And the idea that somehow this T-Rex thing, it's so fucking big. How do you not notice it? Like,
it becomes frustrating where it's like the car breaks down because the plot deems it. The dad is like, get in the fucking car instead of standing there waiting for the like stuff like that is aggravating.
The dad took so long. I'm like, why are you seatbelt buckling the kid? Open your door, throw the kid over your shoulder and drive. There's a dinosaur. Let's see some sense of urgency. And this is probably part two. Being on set, not giving the stage direction necessarily appropriately, telling them how far away something is, what the scene is, what you have to do. Like, because they get in the car, buckle the seatbelt. Hey, okay there, champ? Yeah. All right, here we go. Let me just stand here for a fucking run. Okay.
Yeah.
There should never be 2 feet on the ground. You should be fucking moving. There's a dinosaur. And the biggest dinosaur. Like, not even like the raptor, which would still give me reason to run like a motherfucker.
I think it's because the actor's told you have to stay very still because the CGI.
Yes. No, that's...
we need, there's little, and whatever, I'll grant you that. And I think the movie is edited well, but that sequence needed to be cut with urgency. It didn't have any urgency. I mean, this is nitpicking. Like, that didn't ruin the movie for me, but all these little moments, and it's all for me, the writing.
There was more panic displayed before we knew there was a problem. Like, when they just first roll up on the uncle's house and, like, they're like, huh? What is this, an oil stain on the ground? Oh, God, something's wrong. Parents, you stay in the car. We're going to go investigate. Why? Why do the parents have to stay by the car? Why, like?
Yeah, the parents stayed. It was so weird, and they're in the back.
Very
seat.
goofy.
It's like such a weird setup.
The dad's like a Vietnam vet-looking guy. Like, he should be like, oh, I got this. Pull out like a Bowie knife and like just go to town on a dinosaur or something. Like, you get this vibe from who he is, but he is not that guy.
The dad doesn't look that old to me. The mom looked like the dad's mom, like, and she wasn't. But it's just the whole
I don't know if that's
was weird.
Like, I took it as like she has like ALS or
maybe
something that like would, like, she has her little things.
But, and I know we're being extremely negative, like, being creative, they do get creative with knowing their limits on their CGI. Like the chase sequence here, like, while, it is what it is, you don't actually see the dinosaur, I think it does sell the urgency here. It does sell the effect. I know what's going on.
Yeah, no, this works.
Stuff like that does work. Man,
his injuries I thought didn't sell. Like, he later, that same character walks back in and like he's just like covered in a little bit of blood. He's like, help, I need help.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what? It was a raptor. What is all this little, like, they just touch you with a tiny claw thing? They're like, as if their mission is to like, okay, murdered you, next guy.
That's what they they don't in Jurassic Park. We're not going to compare it. Never mind. I'm not going to compare Jurassic Park. But they play these up as monsters instead of dinosaurs.
Yeah,
that's the understanding.
They're serial killers, not animals.
They're not animals. They're serial killers. But even though they have the egg thing, which could have explained why they're so territorial, but they don't really bother.
I wanted to like Jack the Raptor, like instead of the Ripper, he's in a little like thing.
Perfect.
He's got a top hat and he's murdering prostitutes. And
we'll write that. In New Jersey. In New Jersey, yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, man, I think there's a lot of potential here, and that's kind of why I'm disappointed. Like, there's more positives than there are negatives, but the biggest negative is the thing they had complete control over, and they executed on that really negative thing really well.
I think that you can look at this kind of like a generational thing where like you'll look back and you're like, you can see how like the cavemen then started using tools, and then we have bronze and Iron Age and stuff, and it took, hundreds of thousands of years for things to like, get to where they have to be or whatever. But here we have a guy that is running through generations every month. So in like a
Yeah.
year, we're gonna have a super amazing movie from this guy that we're gonna be like, oh my God, what the hell? Because he's learning clearly from each project that he's doing. And I think if everything runs its same course, even by the end of 2021, we're going to see a movie that I think we're going to like.
He started in 2018. What we need to do is go back and watch The Bad Nun, which is his first movie, and see where we have come from.
It's like an amazing movie. We have no problems with it all. And we're like, oh, I don't know.
Dude, yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 movies at least coming out this year.
Oh yeah. I'm eagerly anticipating some of these ones. Like that crocodile one I hear good things about. I do want to watch more of these movies, and I do think that they will get better. And I wouldn't honestly be surprised if some of the early work is better, because sometimes before you have money, you're stuck working in a certain amount of limitations. While when you do have the money to throw at things, i.e. a CG, bad guy, you kind of go, oh, we'll fix that in post, and you don't worry about things in the same way. And you're kind of like, oh, the visuals will sell this trailer, that kind of stuff. So maybe this Bad Nun movie, a nun, probably not a CGI villain.
But I think maybe we are expecting more than they are, meaning they've obviously committed to this working director thing, right? I think they're making these extremely quickly to turn a profit, very low investment to turn a profit. And so is there a bar that's just like, this is what you get, no more? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they say you could work on something forever and it will never be perfect, but at a certain point, you just got to release it. And I think if you change that to like, we're going to make this movie in 5 days, and whatever you get. It's 5 days worth of time. We put this much money into it. We got this. And I think you are definitely above the bar of what I would expect in a movie done in this amount of time. I think that you're definitely hitting that. And these are movies you could sell. They have covers that are great. These are things that I would purchase sight unseen, of these trailers, because I'll be like, whoa, what is this? Hatched a dinosaur. Based on the description, a T-Rex is making its way towards, like the big city. Oh, a bat full of an old alien disease and lightning. This sounds great. Like these are things that would sell me on a movie. And maybe it's just that they're like such, like, oh, I'm playing 4-dimensional chess here because all I care about is the sale. And maybe that is it. But
maybe
something tells me that they do care about a product here, because there are certain things that you wouldn't necessarily do. You could have just hung a few bed sheets and that is the lab now. You could have done this. Like they're doing things that I think show that you do care.
No, yeah. They definitely have a bar of quality that they're going above a lot of other things I've seen. But it's like, I talked to Glenn Miller, the director, and I think you did too. Yeah. Of Aquarium of the Dead. And, he heard all of our criticisms about that movie, and he agreed 100% because he was aware it was just, it's not necessarily just a job for him, but it is, he knew his limitations and this is what they could do, and is accepting that. And I think I just would reiterate, like, they're so close with this. If the script was really good, this could be like a standout, not this one, but with this team that made this one, you could make something that shows up on Bloody Disgusting and gets real mainstream audience to be like, wow, this is pretty good.
I completely agree, and I think just a little bit more time spent in that script stage would do a lot. Get someone to read the script. In fact, I will volunteer. You want to send a future script to me, and well,
I'll write you a script.
I'd do that as well. But I meant, if you seem to have 100 in the pipeline, if you got one you're planning on shooting in a 6 months, send it off to us. I would be happy to give you notes on a script and then see what that review would then be like on that movie that comes out. I'd be more than excited about that.
they have us do it, and then they make the worst movie ever. And it's all
script.
Because of our terrible script. It's I'm excited to check out more, honestly.
Definitely.
But I can't like this idea was schlocky, and just imagine like, what was the Humpty Dumpty movie? Like,
Mhm.
How that is going to be taken seriously, I know it will be because that's what these people do.
I would love to
I
see
don't
them
know
lean
how.
into a really schlocky comedy horror movie where they're breaking the fourth wall almost, where it's like dinosaurs, and then like apply what a person in the real world would know about dinosaurs from movies, and then approach it that way. Things like that. Like we'll see. I would love comical time freezes like a la Zach Morris in Saved by the Bell. All right, so right here, the dinosaurs are gonna blah 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 blah. So this is what I know I should do. Like thing like just get really hammy with it, go real joke, because you clearly have the actors, you have the locations, you have CG. I think if you just twisted up the humor level and played up
They're
maybe
not
some
going.
more gore and not just these like, oh, the whole body is engulfed and then someone throws a bucket of blood on the ground. I think you could have something that people would talk about.
That again, I think we're asking for something they're not going to do. They're going to make a serious, dramatic movie called The Curse of Humpty Dumpty. And I don't understand why, but
There is a
they
certain
seem
point
to
where that can
always.
full wrap around where you could not
Maybe,
you can
yeah.
unintentionally make something amazing by trying to make a very serious Humpty Dumpty
Yeah.
movie. And maybe this will be that. I would I
I'm-
eagerly await it.
Either way, I'm watching it. I'll tell you
Oh,
that.
for sure. For sure.
So,
Title alone, they've got us.
all right. Hatched, though.
Hatch
It's out.
2021. This is out, yes, July 6th. So you're watching this, you could probably see that. Hatched.
Would you recommend it?
I don't know if I would recommend it. I think if you were gonna watch this, I would rather watch Dinosaur Hotel.
What? Really?
I think so. I think it's a more fun movie. Is it a better film? Maybe
No,
not,
yeah.
but it's all about your time investment here. They're both around an hour 20 minutes, something like that. I think for the same amount of time, I think I would say if you need a dinosaur movie, I would check out Dinosaur Hotel.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't check out Dinosaur Hotel, but I've seen a lot of dinosaur movies in the past few years. And the one that still sticks out to me is Jurassic Games, and I think it's.
Oh, I didn't know
mostly
we were
'cause-
fucking pulling things from outside the world.
Just saying. Jurassic Games or any of those Milko Davis Z-Rex.
Well, I would go
Jurassic Dead.
Carnosaur, I think, if I was.
Well, Carnosaur
2,
is
probably.
like a legit movie, though.
Yeah.
Sort of. But you know, like,
Honestly, they're probably yeah, it's more money than this, yeah. But like I'd
It's
say
shot on film.
if you change the time period, like if you adjust
Yes.
inflation and this and that, and what is available technologically, they're not too different, honestly.
No, but all those movies that I'm recommending, the stories are better or more unique or more interesting. Not necessarily the execution on them.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So
There's a lot to be seen. But of the dinosaur movies we have covered recently, I think I enjoy the Dinosaur Hotel more than I enjoyed this one.
Carnosaur 2, they ram a T-Rex down into an elevator shaft with a forklift, I believe.
Gotta say,
Something like that.
spoilers, Chris. It's only like a 30-year-old movie. What are you doing?
And it's entirely based off the Aliens script.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. As many things are.
Yeah, that's what these guys should do. Just make
Yeah.
Humpty Dumpty, take aliens, put Humpty Dumpty in
Humpty Dumpty is an alien.
Perfect. He pops
He's
out
a
of somebody's
gray.
chest.
It's
Yeah.
that big head, but a really tiny body with his little arms.
I'm there for it. Like, I'm there for that.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that's our thoughts on Hatched. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire. Check out Chris on Bad Movie Night. And until next time, fuck off.
So I go back, and it's like we never left. Show you love and love. It's credible video. So I go back, and it's like we never